August 22nd in Bitcoin. We are on the 4-hour chart through MEXC. It's given us the first attempt at what we could call the channel that's going to form in this distribution zone. It's still too early to say for sure if this is the definitive channel or if it's more of a pause or a weekend consolidation, because two things have come together. A very long move, that is a very aggressive markup move, along with the arrival of the weekend. So the weekend pause is quite normal, which can be related precisely to this consolidation. Or it could have already arrived, because we also see this kind of buying climax. So there might be that doubt. In any case, we are going to look at support and resistance levels, which at first, this channel might be the zone we'll be studying during the coming week. And without further ado, let's start the analysis. I'm Michael Vasquez, and what we do on this channel is try to forecast price movement by looking at the traps set by the big players. We've seen a brutal trap in what this week has been, at the end of the week, the markup we were announcing. I'm going to explain it all to you on the 1 week candle chart, that is, in the long term. Because normally how the chart works is that the movements from the small time frame, 30 minutes, 1 hour, are transferred to the 4 hour, and they confirm a movement from the small to the large. But when there is an aggressive movement from the long term, it is exactly the opposite. That is to say, it starts in the long term and it affects all the others. That's why with the structure of looking at scalping or intraday during the clues that appear on those charts, it's harder to see that aggressive movement because we're not used to it. It happens once every 2-3 months, and it's always a surprise. That's why you have to be a little cautious. I'll explain it to you first on what is the 1 week candle chart long term, which is what we've seen. As you can see, the wick-off phases, as I explain in my course, are 4, which are accumulation, a markup, which coincides with what we've seen this week, a distribution, and a markdown. The philosophy behind this is that the strong hands make it very simple. In other words, for a usually long period of time, 2-3 months or even more, it can be up to 6 months in the long term. What they do is take a range little by little, if it's accumulation, they go on buying in a very discreet way so that the price doesn't shoot up. Because when they buy suddenly, what we've seen this week happens, that the price shoots straight up. So they would ruin their play. What they do is buy discreetly. Always trying, in this case, to scare retail investors so they sell at a cheap price. They do this for months, and at a moment that you know will happen but don't expect, at the moment with the fewest signals, that markup appears. I mean, they release all that liquidity, all that money into Bitcoin, but it happens on all charts, in everything, in all assets. Everything they had accumulated, along with the money they're putting into the chart to push the price up, everything increases in value. I mean, for example, here it was at 67,000. It appears at 82,000. That is their business. Once that's finished, what they do is sell discreetly as well. Because if they sold all at once, what we would see would be a very aggressive and very fast markdown. The last time we saw this foreign of distribution, it was indeed very short, 2 weeks and right away. If you're interested in making money with trading, whether professionally or as a side job, I've designed a course where you'll stop looking at indicators and you'll understand what the market is really doing, what the smart money is really doing, and you'll be able to make money the way they do. Let's continue with the analysis. The downward movement of the markdown appeared, so we understand that there was still a lot of liquidity left to create. That is to say, they are always changing the structure a little bit. It's not that once it happens you see it clearly, but at the beginning it's hard to see. What they had was even more liquidity. They have increased that liquidity. They had a lot of money, and in a very aggressive way, so that it wouldn't pass to the short term or intraday scalping. You couldn't realize where the situation was heading. This markup appeared. Well, having said that, now we are looking for, or the Bitcoin price is looking for, a distribution zone. There have been very classic distribution zones. For example, this one between this would be support and resistance. For the moment, we are looking, for example, at 79 and 79 and 82. It would be a very favorable zone, but it could even go higher to 91,000. I don't think it's going to the zone of highs that we saw last year at more than 100,000. But in any case, we are already in the zone of 77,000, 79,000, which is what we are going to see on the 4-hour chart. On the 4-hour chart is indeed where we can start to see more of that glimpse of the channels. What we are always looking for from the institutions is to see that volume entry, because it gives us clues, but it gives us clues when it appears in a normal movement, that is to say in a lateralization. Or when we see, for example, I'll show you the volume now, when we see this markup movement, or we can see a very aggressive markdown movement, we will see a lot of volume. We'll turn on the volume so that seeing it makes it easier to understand. What we are looking for are, as you can see, the volume is immense, especially this candle. I mean, impressive. We are talking about the 4-hour time frame, and in 4 hours, more than 4 billion came in. Very well, we are now in this zone, which is what I'm telling you could start that accumulation channel. In any case, for example, if you are scalping or day trading over this weekend, it looks like the game is going to be in that channel between 79,000, a little bit below, and a little bit below 77,000 as well. That zone could be a safe channel, which is typical for the weekend, and then it might consolidate to what is forming that distribution pattern over the following months. In any case, it's always going to change. We're going to see breakouts, retests. We're going to get into the normal dynamic of a lateralization, because you know that the lateralization, that is accumulation or distribution, in the long term is going to last, well, that 2, 3, 4, or even 6 months. On the other hand, the markup and the markdown will last, now we are talking about days. It can last a maximum of 1 week. I mean, most of the time that we are scalping or day trading or even swing trading, we are always talking about lateralizations in the long term. Very well, keeping that in mind, we've already set the possible channel. I'm also going to add another support below that we should keep in mind, and a resistance above. We're not going to go any further because I'm going to upload another video tomorrow. If other clues appear, we'll analyze them as we go until the price stabilizes in that lateralization. On the downside, we're going to keep the 74,000 zone very much in mind. Now, I've already told you about the zone a little below 77,000, the 79,000 zone, also a little below, and then above the 82,000 zone. Within all these zones, the most logical one to take as either support or resistance for a new channel is the 82,001. But you already know that the strong hands, translated into the chart, can always pull moves on us. All right, let's take a look at the scalping or intraday for the weekend, which seems to be shaping up in a way to be more simple because of that joint weekend pause and the possible channel. In principle, we have to look for, as we have always looked for, a zone when it comes to Japanese candlesticks. We have to look for those rejection wicks that are showing us that struggle between retail and the strong hands. The strong hands always win. That's why, when it appears, we normally see the upward movement. We have to see an entry of volume that manifests that struggle, and then the arrival at an important support or resistance zone. We have the 3 elements here, and you are seeing how the movement is starting to be upward. We have to see the same elements when it reaches the upper zone, the 79 zone. We can also look for other important zones during the weekend. You already know that mid-channel, we would now have a mid-channel more or less around this zone, which is 77,600. Let's mark it. 77,600. Let's put it in another color so it stands out. Okay, mauve. As you can see, when it has reached the mid-channel zone, it already starts to have its structure, even within the 15-minute time frame. Once any lateralization begins, no matter how small, those structures repeat themselves. And you're seeing that the arrival at the mid-channel has had many changes. That is, volume entry, wicks, and changes in the direction of price movement on quite a few occasions. 3 elements to keep in mind. Very well. I also wanted to tell you, the VIP Telegram channel, you know that I post the trades I make there, that I make daily? There are 100 of us. The way to join is by signing up on the exchange, mexc.com, and making your first deposit. MEXC will give you, once you are an active user, they will give you $50, and I will give you free access to the VIP Telegram for 1 month. After that, it costs 19 euros a month. Very well. I'm also showing you the entry for the August challenge, the entry that I made yesterday. As you can see, I started on August 1st with $500. You've already seen how the chart has gone. We've had ups and downs. It hasn't gone, certainly, or it's not going like July went, but hey, in any case, the position yesterday was indeed good. They sent me the TP, I made another $20. The idea is to make $20 every day with that $500 account and see how far it goes. Currently, the account is at $566. In other words, we are still in the positive after these big hits. I don't set a stop loss simply since it's 10 times leverage. If I see the movement going too far, like what happened with that markup, I would get out. I would get out at a loss. Normally, I let it run for several days, or most of the time, it hits the TP on the same day. I'm Mikkel Vazquez, and this is Daily Bitcoin Analysis. I really appreciate you watching this video, and as I always tell you, this is not financial advice. Rather, I'm sharing my experience with you after more than 15 years in professional trading. See you tomorrow. Let's see if it consolidates this channel. The middle of the channel has already shown itself to be important, and that's even though we've only been in the new channel for a few hours. So we'll analyze it little by little. See ya.